Hey folks, meteorologist Zach Batten here for the Bell Park Weather Network. It is currently just after midnight on January 18th. I wanted to do this video earlier, but as some of the later kind of model data started to come in, I wanted to get a better look at things. So now that it's after midnight, we're finally getting this video out. It's going to go live right away, so most of the information will be current as of just after midnight, but it should be good for really most of the day today, and then eventually into Friday as well. So, of course, the big story is snow. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go ahead and get right into that. So taking a look at kind of what's going on out there right now, there's not much. In fact, there's a whole lot of nothing but cold. And relatively speaking, it's actually warmer than it has been, for a little while now. So, it's cold, but it could be worse. So we're expecting kind of 2 rounds of snow, and some of the later model data that's come in has kind of really, there's been some changes, especially really with both rounds, but in particular, kind of round 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of that. Here we are progressing through the morning at 7 a.m. You see this band has really started to develop up here in northern Ohio and out over the lake. So northeast Ohio getting into some of the action, and then northwest Ohio. Previously, it looked like there was going to be a band here, and then maybe some lighter snow across kind of the rest of the state. At the moment, it looks primarily like this band of snow, just for a couple hours this morning, impacts maybe northeast Indiana and northern Ohio here. But whereas it was looking like we may get a quick couple inches, it's really looking like maybe an inch. The totals have kind of come down with round 1. So obviously that'll kind of impact the full total, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But as we go through the day, just some kind of on and off snow showers, not expecting really much in the way of accumulation for the rest of the state. So as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, so here we are 10 p.m. tonight, you can pretty clearly see kind of 2 different bands of snow. You've got your northern section and then your southern section. And what we've been watching and what this particular model shows is this whole area right in here where there's virtually nothing, that's dry air. There is a layer of dry air that's sandwiched kind of in between these 2 systems. And the biggest question for those of you in Southwest Ohio is how long is that dry air going to hold out? So some models have it holding out until kind of, almost rush hour Friday morning. Others have it, not holding out nearly as long. So here we are at 10 o'clock. As we go through 11, 12 now, these 2 systems kind of join forces. And it's kind of when that happens is when that dry air will also start to lose. So this particular look here has the dry air kind of losing its grip relatively early, which would lead to slightly higher snow totals as opposed to, if the dry air hangs on a little bit longer. But interesting to note, Southwest Ohio still, while everybody else is seeing snow, there's still some dry air in Southwest Ohio. And this is one thing that, especially with kind of the afternoon and evening runs and now the later night runs, this is something that's showed up more and more. So the maps we're going to look at here in a little bit are likely going to be refined some in the morning, but we'll go over kind of our initial thoughts, and then I'll discuss where we are likely to see those changes. So as we continue on through the day Friday, eventually that snow does pull out by mid-morning for most of us. Northeast Ohio, you of course will be the exception, as you might get some lake enhanced snow, which will end up leading to higher totals, which again we'll discuss. And then as we go through the day Friday, it does eventually taper off. But one thing, and you can see it here off of Lake Michigan, that won't impact us so much, but the lake effect snow is expected to crank off of Lake Erie a little bit. The lake's not fully frozen yet, and there will be just enough of a temperature difference between the lake temperature and the air temperature as some of that colder air does filter back in, where we will likely see some lake effect snow, especially up here in northeast Ohio and into northwest Pennsylvania. So let's go ahead and take a look at kind of a regional breakdown of what we're looking at as far as snow goes. So starting off in northwest Ohio and northeast Indiana, you see for the most part, we're still looking at 4 to 6 inches of snow. And again, this map goes through Thursday morning all the way through Saturday evening to kind of account for that lake effect snow. Of course, this area not expecting to see anything lake effect, so this will be just wave 1, which really looks like mostly the Toledo area and kind of far northwest Ohio. And then, of course, wave 2, that will impact pretty much everybody. You see lighter totals kind of off to the south and then off to the west there in Indiana. But for the most part, 4 to 6 with 2 to 4 in the south and west portion of this particular region. Moving on to southwest Ohio, you see in general 2 to 4, and initially we expected, a little area of dry air, which is where this light blue is. So that's your lower totals, your 1 to 3. What it's looking like now is there's a good chance some of that dry air will likely kind of hang on to more of the area. And this is what we're going to be watching for in the morning. So this 1 to 3 may actually get expanded, farther north and east. We'll get a better look at that in particular in the morning, and we'll see how long that dry air will be able to hold out, and if the models kind of stay consistent with that, if they kind of waffle back and forth, we'll see. In particular, though, the bulk of your snow and really everybody's snow is going to be Friday morning. The reason we have the kind of travel threat as a moderate over there is a lot of the snow is likely to fall during kind of the rush hour period. So morning rush hour Friday could potentially be pretty tricky. Depending on how long the snow lingers, the drive home may also be fairly tricky. So something we're keeping an eye on there. And then, of course, Thursday, the winds won't be so bad. Friday, the winds will pick up with gusts, near 30 or maybe slightly higher than 30. So, something else you have to consider, this is going to be a fairly light and fluffy snow, so it won't take much wind to really blow it around. So moving on to northeast Ohio. So this is where most of the region hangs out in 4 to 6 again. Of course, you do have that 2 to 4 in the southern region, kind of bordering where we don't expect, the snow to be quite as heavy or, last as long. And then, far northeast Ohio, so your Cleveland, Middlefield, Ashtabula. This is where we have to watch for some of that lake enhanced snow and then the lake effect snow. So a lot of this will depend on where exactly the winds set up. So do the winds, are they blowing more this direction or are they blowing more this direction? That will depend, or that will kind of help determine where the lake effect snow sets up once, that system gets cranking. As the main system pulls away, the winds will be coming out of the northwest. Depending on the exact track the system takes as it pulls away, will ultimately determine, the orientation of the winds off the lake and then where that lake effect snow really sets up. So we're thinking that the winds are going to be kind of more from the west as opposed to the northwest. So it'll probably be west-northwest, which will lead, most of the lake effect snow to go far northeast Ohio and then into northwest Pennsylvania. So that's why you Ashtabula up here, you're a little bit higher. But again, this could shift as, we see where the low is really going to track and the orientation of the winds. And then, of course, we have southeast Ohio into the mid-Ohio Valley. Really same story. Some of the higher elevations there, it's in particular in the West Virginia area, that's going to help bump your snow totals up a little bit. You're going to have a little bit better moisture. So your snow ratios, your snow to liquid ratio is going to be a little bit higher, which will allow that snow to accumulate a little bit faster. And then 2 to 4 really across the rest of the area, where again, we're going to have to kind of watch out for some of that dry air. It'll be present in the beginning, but this far east, it should and does look like it's going to give way and be significantly less stingy than it will be in Southwest Ohio. So we'll go back through those again, just in case. So Northeast Ohio, in particular, Cleveland, Middlefield, Ashtabula, really where we're expecting the heaviest snow, 4 to 6 for most other places, and 2 to 4 as you work your way south. Southwest Ohio, again, we're going to be watching for some more intrusion of that dry air and for it to hold on a little longer. So some of these totals will likely be adjusted, but in general, we're looking at 2 to 4 kind of mix for most of that region. And then Northwest Ohio, we're still looking 4 to 6. If we end up getting a little bit more snow with this first batch Thursday, or today rather, these totals might push more towards the 6 range. But in general, I don't expect too much to change for this region. So maybe Eastern Indiana and then a little bit further south, we'll see some changes. But I think right now, pretty comfortable with these totals. Will be some refinement in the morning, but of course, keep an eye on some posts here on Facebook, or here on YouTube rather, and on Facebook. You'll see updated snow maps as we go through the morning and are able to look at some more data. So with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day today. Stay warm. It's going to be a little bit warmer than it has been, but still below freezing, so it's still cold in my book. I will see you all tomorrow morning with another update. We'll see how the radar's looking Friday morning, what we're looking at as far as snow goes, and if there's any significant changes we need to make. So with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.